Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. So today I'm going to come very late to the party and talk about the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm face palette. I have the shade Lovegasm. I can't speak today again. Lovegasm, which is the darker of the two shades. Now I've had this a couple of weeks as a very dirty. I thought about actually not bothering to review it because, like me, you guys probably have seen 4,000 million reviews of this so far and are probably sick to death. I wasn't even going to buy it, to be honest. I felt like, you know, I've got other shades from Charlotte Tilbury. I've got her, both shades of her Hollywood Bronze and Glow kits. I've also got some blushes from her. I didn't really feel like I needed it. And then I saw it, I started seeing reviews, very mixed reviews. I'm sure you guys feel the same way, that there are reviews that are obsessed, that love this, it's life-changing, and reviews that completely didn't get on well with it and didn't enjoy it at all, and it's a complete miss for those people. So that was kind of intriguing me. I then saw Temptalia, which is Christine's blog, Temptalia, the website, which features just every single makeup product you can think of, and she rates everything completely impartially. And this particular shade, I think the Lightgasm, the lighter palette, didn't do as well, but this shade got an A-, which is pretty darn good for a 4-pan palette, because there's usually, you know, something that lets the side down in there. But it got a very good rating and review from Christine on Temptalia, which piqued my interest because that girl knows what she's talking about. And it also detailed all of the information about the formula, which is why I decided to share my review and my thoughts, given that I've been working with this now for a couple of weeks and I feel like I know what's going on, I know what's happening, I know what's working, what's not, and I feel like I'm ready to give you my thoughts. I also think it's useful, just because I haven't seen that many people with my skin tone using this palette, so you never know, maybe it will help one person, in which case I did my job, I guess. So what I have found out about this palette is that it is not a standard powder formula, which I think is the issue that lots of people are having, is that lots of people are working with this under the assumption, which, why wouldn't you, that it's just, you know, like powder products, your regular powder products. Like, we've used Charlotte Tilbury's bronzers and highlights and blushes before, working with it in the same way, which is probably what most people would do. But having, you know, watched lots of reviews and read all of the information in detail about this product, what I found is that this is actually a gel hybrid powder formula. So it's not your standard baked powders, it's not Charlotte's normal formula, it's not the same formula as her Bronze and Glow palettes. It is a gel hybrid formula, which means it almost performs, or you need to work with it almost closer to like a cream. If you think of it as a very firmly pressed cream, that's where I think people are having issues, because there is zero powder like effect in this palette. If you like swirl your brush in here, you will not get a speck of powder kick up. You won't see any dust. I've been using this, like I said, for, you know, a couple of weeks. What I've got is some smear around the bronzer, but there is no powderiness, there's no powder there at all. So while that's a negative for some people because they feel like the brushes they've got won't work with this formula, or it works differently, people have been thinking it's not pigmented because it's taking ages for them to build up and they're not getting colour payoff. But actually what I think it is it's this new formula. And you may be thinking, well, I don't have, you know, pro brushes, I don't have £50 goat hair brushes, it's not going to work for me. I've just been using my regular brushes. I've been using my regular cheap mainly brushes, or more affordable brushes I should say, other than my MAC 135, which is the only bronzer brush I really ever use, which is working fine with it, and all of my regular brushes, which I shall show you. I've not had an issue at all with this palette. It is more of a buildable formula. For me, that's a bonus because I'm very heavy-handed, and so if I whack very pigmented bronzer on my face, then I have to take time blending it out, and I'm also wasting a lot of product because, one, loads of it's probably flying through the atmosphere, coming off in the palette, coming off as I'm blending it, coming off on my brush. So I'm wasting a lot of product, and here there's no waste. Everything that you put on your brush goes on your face, and there is literally next to no blending time required, particularly with the bronzer. I do build it up quite a bit to get what I want, but I don't have to hardly blend it at all, and you end up with the most natural skin-like, absolutely, you know, can't see where your makeup starts and finishes because everything is seamless and it wears all day long. The longest wearing bronzer and blush formula that I think I've tried, honestly. It is like absolutely amazing of a formula. It just looks glorious, skin-like, flattering, smooth, and incredibly long wearing. So that is the pro to the potential con, that it's maybe just different to what you're used to working with. So that is my explanation of why we're seeing such mixed reviews, because I think people who are working with it thinking it's just a regular powder or approaching it in that way are having issues. The people with, you know, brushes that are just designed or work better, just happen to work better, or they've researched a formula and know to do that, are having more successful results. So that's my 2 cents on the formula and the product and why we've seen such mixed reviews. Now let's whack it on my face and see how it looks. So for reference, I don't really have a MAC shade at the moment because I just haven't used a MAC foundation for so long. Today I'm wearing Rodial foundation and I'm mixing shades 2 and 5 together. I'm kind of between my winter and my summer shades. I'm using NARS Stromboli. I'm like a Fenty 290. I'm a Estee Lauder tawny-ish is a little bit light for me right now, so I'm around that sort of between NC30 and NC35, I think. So that's for reference on my shade. So I'm going to use my MAC 135 and I'm going to go into the bronzer shade, and this is a natural hairbrush, so this is the old school MAC brush. I was going to say formula, but that's a bit weird. So I'm just going to start building this up. So at the moment I've got foundation, I've got concealer, and I've set my concealer. There's no powder anywhere else on my face. So you can see straight away there's colour payoff there. It's not like bronzer, which is what, to be fair, I normally do. I do prefer a lot of bronzer, like I do like to have a strong bronzer. So this one, in order for me to have a nice, strong, definitely there, definitely bronzed look, I do have to build it up. But I'd say the time it takes me to do this bronzer is no longer than my regular bronzer because the blending time is so much less. You know, when I use, say, my Too Faced Chocolate Gold, which is mega pigmented and, you know, a lot of product goes on your face, even using the lightest hand I can manage, I then spend a long time, you know, blending it out. I'll put it on, a lot of product will go down and I'll be there blending for a decent amount of time. Whereas with this, I feel like, yes, I'm having to, you know, go and dip back in a good few times to get the effect I'm looking for. The time is cancelled out with the blending, and actually I just end up with so much of a seamless finish, perfectly blended finish with really minimal effort and time. So I think people are maybe discounting this who feel like, oh, I'm a beginner and it sounds like a complicated formula, but actually I feel like it's quite handy for beginners, or for just people who are heavy-handed like me, or for people who just like a really natural look. Obviously you don't have to build it up, and if you're fairer than me, I think you can get away with this palette because you would just not build it up instead. So this is where we've got to now. So this is probably about where I would leave my bronzer, and you just see it wasn't really that much time and effort. I'm not using, you know, particularly special brush. This is just the normal bronzer brush that I always use, and what it's given me is a lovely bronzed effect that's not too much and has like taken really no blending. It's just about, you know, building the colour up to as much as you want. So I just find it just so skin-like, and it's just melted into the skin. It's seamless. It's really no effort to blend it at all. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go in with the highlight shade, and this is just my Sigma E42 strobing fan brush, I think it's called. I think the highlight doesn't, you know, seem to give me any more trouble than any highlight. You can see that. Literally no effort, and again, that formula, it's melting in. Normally with highlight, because I like my highlight to be quite nice and blended, I don't want it to be like too sitting on top of the skin. I don't want it to sort of not be cohesive with everything else. And normally I really sort of push my highlight into the skin, but this just does that for me. It just melts into the skin. But it isn't super natural or soft. It is, you know, a blinging highlight. I will say that. But it is a typical Charlotte highlight that it is, you know, glowy, gorgeous, skin-like luminosity, rather than it being, you know, crazy metallic. It is more of a sort of glorious glow. Okay, so that's the highlight and the bronzer. Everything is just looking beautifully blended together. So I have tried all different brushes with the blushes. Ooh, tongue twister. I like my Japanesque cheek brush. This is like one that I've previously used for cream, but it works really, really well with this formula as well. I've also used my Dose of Colours tapered blush. Oh no, this is powder blush brush, and both of these work absolutely beautifully. If I want to really pack a punch, I'll use the Japanesque. If I just want a bit more of a natural lighter hand with the blush, I'll use this one. I know you're supposed to, I don't even know which way round, you're supposed to blush with this and then that one over the top. I just tend to mix the two together. So I'm going to show you with my Dose of Colours, because if you're thinking, oh, I don't have, you know, a Japanesque brush, I don't have a cream brush, I want to just show you that this works fine with this brush as well. Again, I am very heavy-handed typically with blush. It can really be an issue for me. I end up putting way too much on and then spending ages blending it. And this is like, I mean, a good swirl in there, but it's plenty pigmented. It is absolutely beautiful. And if, like I said, I wanted more of a punch, I just go in with that Japanesque brush. I also used the other day my Beauty Blender, and that worked really nicely as well, and it just gives this gorgeous glowy cheek. I will say that it slightly emphasises texture, but for how glowy this cheek now is, really not as much as you would expect. So there you have it. I've just kind of finished up, just put some lipstick on, and it's just, to me, it's so skin-like. It's just the most heavenly formula, and yeah, it might take a little bit of work out if it's different to what you're used to, but for me it's really helped on those days where I don't want to go way overboard. I just want a really natural, glowy, like flush to the cheeks. I want to warm up my cheeks, but I don't want to see makeup. I don't want to be like bronzer, blush, which is how I am most of the time, to be honest, but not intentionally. But yeah, it gives me such a seamless, natural, soft, glowy flush. I'm just in love with it. I think this palette is absolutely stunning. The formula is like nothing else I've tried. I love it. I think it's so pretty and flattering and smooth on the cheeks. Let me give you a real close-up and like naturally lit look at the products. But yeah, can you see how like skin-like, how seamless it is, how much it sort of like goes into the skin instead of sitting on top. I think the formula is worth the extra little bit of trouble that it's giving people. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Lovegasm Glowgasm face palette from Charlotte Tilbury. I love this. I think the packaging is amazing. Huge big mirror. I've been using it non-stop just for the mirror, but yeah, the bronzer is also very nice on the eyes. You can use this whole palette on the eyes. It's eye safe, according to Charlotte. So yeah, I think for me it's just going to be a staple. I'm struggling to want to use anything else since I picked this one up. I love it. So hopefully if you've got this, that will help you understand what's going on with it if you're having trouble, or it will help you if you've been on the fence and you're not sure which review, or whether there's something wrong with the formula, or whether it's good or not. Those are my 2 cents on the palette. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, I would love to see you in a future video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.